it all fell over. Alright, cool. Hello, welcome. This is my speech about Wes Anderson, who is a movie director and screenwriter with a really unique style. It's sort of quirky and sophisticated at the same time. He's directed 7 films thus far, and he likes to work with the same cast in most of his productions. In his personal life, Wes Anderson was born in Houston, Texas in 1969. When he was 8 years old, his parents divorced, which kind of set the course for his films. They're really relationship driven. And according to biography.com, one of the most influential part of his life was when he directed a lot of plays in high school. They were really sort of edgy and unusual plays for a high schooler to do, and that's kind of reflected in his movie Rushmore, which has the main character does pretty much the same thing. He went to college at the University of Texas at Austin and graduated in 1991 with a degree in philosophy. As far as Wes's style goes, it was really sort of shaped by his childhood and growing up and stuff like that. But it's his style really that gave him his success in his filmmaking. This style is really kind of visually, it's vintage and almost sort of gaudy, really old-fashioned looking and quirky, just like the rest of his films are. The stories are almost all family focused, especially with the father figure, which might be related to his parents' divorce again. The movies are almost always a really sweet blend of drama and comedy, and they're just very human and very heartfelt movies. And they're also often a reflection on youth and changing perspectives as you mature. It's entertaining and it's funny, but also you learn stuff from it. Yeah. You might not have heard of Wes Anderson or his style, but you've probably heard of some of his films. His initial film was Bottle Rocket, which he co-wrote with Owen Wilson, who was his college roommate, they wrote it during college, so they co-wrote it in college while they were roommates. It's about 3 friends who get bored and decide to just plan a robbery, and it's just out of boredom. There's not really any motive to it. It did really, really poorly in the box office. In fact, according to Cinos.com, it was one of the worst screen tests ever, which is when they play a movie before it hits theaters, and really just no one liked it. But on the home video market, it did pretty well. Rushmore was Wes Anderson's second film. It was also co-written with Owen Wilson, and it's about a quirky and eccentric teenager who's into a lot of directing plays and starting student organizations and stuff, but he doesn't really pay attention to his schoolwork, and he's just pretty much failing out. And then he falls in love with an elementary school teacher, and it's really complicated, and it's just a really funny movie. And then Wes's next movie was The Royal Tenenbaums, which was his first movie that had a well-known cast, which made it a pretty successful film, financially at least. And it was also co-written with Owen Wilson, once again. And it's about a family of former child prodigies who are growing up and having kids and dysfunctional, and it's lovely. Okay, so Owen Wilson's 5th film is The Life Aquatic, which is my very favorite. It's based on Jacques Cousteau, loosely. It was co-written with Noah Baumbach, who is just another writer who's a really talented guy. It's about an ocean exploration team, and they're sort of after this mythological, legendary shark, and it's about family. It's a really cool movie. Let's see here. The Darjeeling Limited was Wes Anderson's next film, which was filmed on location on a train in India. It's pretty unusual. And it was co-written by Jason Schwartzman, who's an actor who's in a lot of Wes Anderson's movies. And it was also co-written by Roman Coppola. It's about 3 brothers who haven't spoken in years, and they kind of unintentionally take a spiritual journey together in India. It's a neat one. The next movie that Wes Anderson directed was Fantastic Mr. Fox, which is a children's movie, and it's also an animated movie. It's based on Roald Dahl's book from long ago. It's an old children's book, and it was co-written with Noah Baumbach again. Excuse me. It's about an aging fox who's just kind of struggling with being a wild animal and raising a family and stuff. The stop motion animation that was used during it was really sort of a big deal when it came out, because it was a really like old-fashioned technique when most people just used computer-generated stuff. And according to the architectural review, they thought that CG, like computer graphics, would have made it a much more clear representation of the story. I disagree, but a lot of people have that kind of viewpoint where they should have just gone computer with it. And then the most recent movie that Wes Anderson directed was Moonrise Kingdom, which is co-written with Roman Coppola, and it's about a young couple that runs away and the search party that goes after them. And then sort of like the overall themes of all these movies is about family changing and life changing, and how pretty much all obstacles can be overcome eventually. His parents' divorce and college and high school experiences definitely shaped his direction as far as his film career goes. And his style is super charming and quirky, and I really like the way he focuses on the relationships of the characters, and they're really real and really sort of awkward at times, which I don't know, I relate to, and it's really enjoyable stuff. And it's kind of cool about Wes Anderson is he considers most of his coworkers to be friends first and then coworkers second, so it's more like a bunch of friends or family instead of like a business relationship, and that kind of transfers through to their films. Alright, thanks for listening to my presentation about Wes Anderson. Thank you.